This video describes the Altrex Designer interface, shows you the basics of building a workflow, and defines some key terms when you first open Altrex Designer. You're presented with a blank canvas. The area over here to the right is what we refer to as the canvas. It's the work area where you build out your process to transform and analyze your data without affecting the original source. And we build that process by using tools up at the top. Here we have the tool palette. So this is where all the tools that are available in Altrex appear. And these tools are divided into groups based on their function. For example, in Out Tools, read and write data, use preparation tools to perform basic functions like filter, sort, and join. Join is about blending the data, taking data from more than one source and bringing it together in a single data set. And we also have a category called favorites. The favorites category has the tools that are used the most, and you can customize which tools and groups display by clicking on the plus symbol over here to the right. You can change what shows and what is hidden in the palette. I'm going to quickly show you how to build a workflow and describe some of the components of the workflow as I go along. The first step in the process is to pull the data into Altrex. The input data tool allows us to do that. To start creating the workflow, you simply click on the tool in the tool palette and hold onto it, dragging it into the canvas and dropping it once it is on the canvas. And you'll notice that the configuration window will change, is now the configuration window for that input tool data we just dropped onto the canvas. To read the data from a local file, we simply click Browse Data and browse to the location where the file is on your computer. Altrex takes us directly to the samples data file, which has all the files available for us that we need. I'll find the customers with transactions file. So this is, let's find the file first. This is an Excel spreadsheet that has customers' transactions for a retail network, and I'll click Open. Whenever I'm selecting Excel, Altrex is always going to ask me which file they want us to use, and this particular one just happens to have one sheet in it. By selecting the one with the $sign on it, I'm telling Altrex to give me all the records on that sheet, and then I'll hit OK. Once I've pointed to a file on my local system, Altrex reads a sample of the first 100 records or so. And what we're looking at today is how much did the customer spend in each of the customer segments across my retail network. I want to find the total spent for each segment, and I can easily do this with the Summarize tool. I'll click on the Transform tab and go over to the Summarize tool and drag it down next to the tool that we already have in use. Now we select the customer segment column. To get the total spend, we just select customer segments, click Add Group By. Now I'm creating a group for each unique value in that customer segment. And I can tell it by selecting Spend and then add Sum, that for each group I want to create a total of the spend field over here in the output name. Since we don't really like the name Sum Spend over here, we're just going to change it to Total Spend for now. Now I've created a two-step process, the Sum Transaction data group, and now what we want to do next is write the results to a brand new Excel spreadsheet. So I'll go back to my In-Out tool tab, and I'll get the Output Data tool, and this will allow me to write it out on either a file or a database when I drag a tool. Now when we drag it onto the canvas and pass another tool, a little dotted line appears. What that line is indicating is that Altrex wants to connect the tools, but this time we're going to drop it out here where it doesn't connect automatically. These little arrows on the tools are called anchors, and whenever we hover over an anchor, our cursor turns into a little hand. And if I click on the anchor, we can drag it over to the other tool and manually connect them by placing it on the other anchor. So now the Summarize tool will pass its records through this connector and configure the Output Data tool and create a new file. To create a new file is really easy. We just browse out to wherever we want the file to be put and call it Customer Segment Totals. And we don't have to write it back out as an Excel spreadsheet. We just happen to choose that. And then go ahead and click Save. At this point, we have our process laid out for us right here, but the process doesn't get executed until we push the green Run button right up here at the top. You'll see down here and in this box right here that the results window shows a log of what is happening. The workflow started running, and the time it took to input the 2,669 records from that file in our local system, and it sent those records down to the Summarize tool. And if I click the tool name right here for Summarize, it shows that Altrex is going to show us the configuration of the tool that I selected. I can also see a sample of how the tool affected the data by down here switching over to the output pane of the result window. It's allowing us to browse the data. There are 4 records with the totals going back to the messages. Now by going back to the messages sent, it shows that it sent those 4 records to the output data tool, which wrote the records on a spreadsheet on my local system. By clicking on the link to the spreadsheet, Alteryx will open up the Excel spreadsheet directly into Excel so that it's the basics of building a workflow.